Okay, now going to go through this, and once I go through it, you will then understand why I waited to after the lunch. So, this is where we were before we left. Okay, let's zoom in. Okay. I will go through each column, and once I've explained each column, we will then look at a specific example given by a manufacturer. So let's start first by looking at the column. Okay, we start with column A. Column A just says what requirement we are on. So this is the ACM category. And here you can say ACM 1. And then this is the ACM 1. It's maybe easier to see here. The same thing here for that. As I said, the tabs are pretty much the same function. The A column, here have you requirement 2.1 and AM4. So here you can just see what the requirement we are on. So that is what the A column is used for. Now, if we go back to the next column, which is the B column, the B column, you can see what are the requirement and for which standard. This is much more easier seen here. As you can see here, requirement for RM2.1, and that is for standard 18031.1. I can zoom in, maybe it's easier to see there. This is first 18031.1, 18031.2, and 18031.3. So then you know that AM2.1 is for these three standards. Okay. Then we have the C column. The C column is for help text. There are some requirements that we see and experience that manufacturers have huge difficulty of answering. So what we do is that we give more information here if there's more information needed. But most of the time there's nothing there because the requirement is simple enough. Okay, let me just to show you, as I said here, if you want to see the requirement itself here, and if we maybe it's easier here to just here you can see the requirement itself, and if you want to see this in the standard, here you have it here in the standard, up, and here you have it in the standard. So if you don't want to go back and forth to the standard, you can just read this, what the requirement is. So then you know what, so A column is for what requirement we are on, B column is the requirement and what standard it is on. If we go here, you can see it says standard 18031-1, 18031-2, 18031-3. The C column is help text. So let's move on to the more important part. The D column is asset 1, E column is what type of asset, and F column is for description of asset. Now, you might be saying, hey, I think I've seen this one before. Yes, this is gathered from the asset tab. So this is gathered from here. So once you write something here, you can then pick it up here, so that you don't need to write it multiple times and do copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. It's much more easier to just then, once you write the assets here, or mechanisms, you can then write it, then it will show up here. You just need to then pick it. So it's much more easier. So that is basically these three first columns is for what asset it is, but sometimes it will also ask for what mechanism it is. But most of the time it's asking for assets. Okay, then let's move on. Then we have these 4 columns. In this case, it says intentionally blank, no information required. That means that you don't need to provide any information. But sometimes you have the implementation categories, or they might be asking for, hey, what interface is being sent? These assets, what interface are they being sent over? So sometimes that, but in this case, in this requirement, it's not asking it. But in different requirement, it might be asking it. So just so you know that. Okay? Then we're starting to get into the required information identifier. Now, you might be seeing now, okay, I have sorted out which one is required, these are the ones that are required, so I've sorted them out. But you might be saying, Oscar, when I'm looking at this, it says AMC security, and here it says the only difference between it's that some it says security and some it says network. And here comes a pro tip. If the only thing that is the difference between the information identifier is the word network or security or privacy or financial, if you look at the standard, it will be asking for basically the same thing. If we go over here, okay, here it says e-info ASM network asset, description of each network asset that is accessible by entities. If we only change this one to security, which is up here, description of each security asset that is accessible by, basically it's asked the exact same question. The only difference is one is asking for network assets, the other one is asking for security assets. Now, if we go back to the Excel template, you might be asking yourself, okay, how do I know which one to answer? Well, you're going to answer for each, as you can see, there are 4 assets, and here what type it is, it's security type. That means that you're going to go over here and answer only for security. So only for security. You don't need to answer for financial if it's not financial. You don't need to answer for privacy if it's not privacy. And you don't need to answer for network if it's not network. So this L column tells you which one are required information identifier you need to answer. We will go through that, the answer to itself, but just as of now, you know that. Then we are going to then go to the decision tree. And in case you don't remember the decision tree, I know the break was not that long, but just in case. Here you have the decision tree. And if you look, if I can go just move it a little bit here, you can see that decision node 1, which is decision node 1 here, it says, is public accessibility of the asset the equipment's intended functionality? And as you can see, that is the same here. And then you have to, yes, will be not applicable. No, you go down to the next one. And over here, it's the same functionality. No, then you go to the next one. No, you go to the next one. And then until you have a pass, or you have a not applicable, or you fail. So these are the decision nodes for the decision tree. So that is what these columns are. So it's starting. Hopefully you start to see the big picture now, and now we understand why I went through the theoretical part, because now we can understand the bigger picture. And then, as I told you, they are you have to justify your answer from a decision node. For instance, here you have so you have to justify the last decision node that you answered. Let me show you. The last decision node that was answered here was, okay, no, it's a no here, it's a no here. Oh, here it is. This is the last one. Decision node 4, this was the last one that was answered. Here they say yes. Then they have to give a justification for why did they say yes. So, are there access control mechanism that manages entities, access to the security, network, privacy, financial assets? Asset is certificates. This means that one does not have access to except where they are stored, or if an operation takes place, transfer of data from app to equipment. Okay, yeah, so that is their justification. Now, the last thing that you need to answer is the conditional information identifiers. Now, I will then go back here. These are stated here. Let's go over here, and you might be saying, okay, there you have them. Okay, let me go up here once again. Go over here, here, maybe a little bit more so that we can see. Yeah, okay, there, I think that will be good enough. Okay, so when it says not decision node 1, if it's not applicable, then you have to answer these. And as you can see, that is here. And of course, this is EN 18031-1, so it doesn't say talk about privacy and financial, but that is also included here. So here you can see, so if yes on decision node 1, then you have to answer these information identifiers. If yes on decision node 2, then these information identifier needs to be answered. If yes on decision node 3, then these needs to be answered. And if yes on decision node 4, then these information identifiers needs to be answered. Here you can see that decision node 4, it was a yes. That means this needs to be answered, these. And as we know, you only have to answer what type it is. So here, this is a security. That means that you only pick, there's 4 and 1 of them are security. That means the security one needs to be answered, while network, privacy, and financial doesn't need to be answered for this asset. And this asset is then a security asset, as we see here. So that is how it works. So it's not more complicated than that. Now to the more funny part and more interesting part. Because my goal for this workshop is that in 3 hours time, when this workshop is finished, I want you to be able to understand how this standard works and how to answer it. So that once this workshop is finished and this day is finished and you go tomorrow to work and you talk to your colleagues and they ask you, hey, do you know now how the standard works? You can actually say yes. And you can actually start providing this and start doing the standard, because we have only 6 months left. So my goal is that you actually understand this, and I think the best way of doing this is that if you get involved. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a little fun here. We're going to do something interesting. We are going to flip this on its head, and you are going to participate, because what we're going to do is that you who are watching, you can communicate with us through the chat. You are going to be the evaluator and going to evaluate this. Okay? And I am going to be the manufacturer. So it's my turn to be the manufacturer that sometimes give maybe wrong answer. And it's you. And I want you to then start trying to do this yourself now while we're working. So we're going to work together and we're going to see what you are saying, and I'm going to then give you the answer if this is good enough or not. So just to summarize, we're going to go through a requirement together. First, we're going to go to this. This is the documentation part. And after that, we'll go through the testing part. So you can also see the testing, how that is done. So the plan now is that I will go through a requirement. I will not say the answer. I will give you 4 minutes to tell me what you think is the answer, what we should do, so that you also can try and fail and see if, try and see if you can understand this yourself. And then, so there will be a 4-minute break where you give your answer. And after the 4-minute break, when we come back, I will then tell you, okay, this is what I will have done and how I will solve it. So by doing it that way, we will get more hands-on. You will get to try it yourself. You will get this, and you can see for yourself if hey, have I understood what he is saying? Can I now do this by myself? So my goal is that by the end of this, you know both how to do this and also the testing part. So let's have some fun. Okay, now let's do one of them. Okay, and I will try to go through as many requirements as possible, and I will also try to go through as many mistakes that I see that is most normal. So let's do the first one. Okay, I am a manufacturer. Okay, let's see. Hi Nemco, how are you doing? Here is the asset. Okay, here's the security. Here's that. I've told you what it contains. Description of asset. This is the asset. Okay, so far I have given you information about all of this. Yeah. Okay, then let's move on. And in this case, we can hide these ones so that it becomes more easier to see, though, because we don't need these ones here. There, and we can take hide. There we go. Okay, so I have then these 3 tabs. I filled them out. In my opinion, I think I've done a very good job, and in this case, I have. Then let's look at how they have answered this one, because you have never done this. So let's go through this together. Okay, the first information identifier. Let's see what that is asking for. Okay, let's bring up the standard. Okay. What are you asking for? You're asking, okay, up there, okay, that description of how each security asset that is accessible by entities. Okay, and then it also points at security. Okay, then I have to find this one. Let's try to find this because I need to know both questions. Let's see. Where is this? And this is right. Okay. Possible entities access to the security assets on the equipment. Okay, so which one? Okay, so description of asset. Okay, description is given here, so that is the description. you have a very nice description. Possible entities that have access to the secured assets. Okay, which entities have, okay, so which entities have access to the equipment? Let's see what the manufacturers say. All entities have access to this asset except the user, but this will depend on operation taken by either user or manufacturer. Note, all entities needs to go through and be approved by ACM1. So ACM1, what does ACM1 stand for? Of course, if we go here, let's go ACM1. Okay, so there is, in both cases, there is access control mechanism here. So that not any entity can just jump in here and just have access to this asset. There is some protection for it. In this case, there's an access control mechanism for it. Okay, and as you can see, it's pretty, they have answered pretty thoroughly how this works. So, okay, not everybody, okay, they have answered it. Good. Let's see what they have answered here. Is the public of the asset equipment intended functionality? No. Okay. Do the physical logical measures in the target operation environment limit the accessibility to authorized entities? For instance, is it in a secure environment? Does it have very limited internet connections? No. Okay. They don't. Do the legal implication not allow for access control mechanism? No. Okay. So there's still no. There's no legal reason why they don't have access control. As we can see, they have access control mechanism, so no, still no. Are there access control mechanism? Yeah, there's access that manages entities' access to the to the security asset. Yes, there is an access control that is doing that. That manages, as we can see, all entity needs to go through and be approved by ACM. Okay, yeah, so there is something that manages the entities' access to the asset. Okay, let's see. The asset is a certificates. Okay, this means that one does not have the access to accept where they are stored or if operation takes place, transfer of data to the equipment. Okay, so that's the justification why they gave. Okay, so far I think this is good. Let's see. Okay, what do they say here? Okay, what does this information identify? What does this want? Let's try to find out what this is asking for. Let's go over here and let's get the standard up again. Let's see what this is asking for. Okay. Maybe I need to do it a little bit bigger so that people can see it. There, I think that is, yeah, there's no, okay, there's nothing more there. There, okay. Description of each access control mechanism that, okay, so they want the description of access control mechanism, okay. So we use ACM1, this is described in access and mechanism tab. Okay, yeah, here, and yeah, it is described. It is described very well, and as you can see, it's not just one sentence or two sentences, there's multiple sentences. So they have answered it very thoroughly. Okay, fair enough. And then of course, you do that through all of them to check that, hey, have they answered it? And you have to make sure that all of them are answered. Okay, and if I go here, I think this one can be hidden. Okay, now that we have gotten that out of place, if I go over here, if I like this, and maybe I start hidden something so we can get a bigger view of all of this. Okay, a little bit here. Now, I think you can see all the answers. So, my question to you is, by looking at this and based on the information you have, and you don't need to go in this requirement, you don't need to go through all of them. The problem will be very visible for you because this is the first requirement we're going through. So I have made what the problem is very simple. You just have to look at it and you will see what the problem is. This is a very normal problem, and this is one of the easiest problems to fix, but it's much more easier if I just show you. So we will now take a 4-minute break where you, in the chat, where you communicate, you tell us where you think the problem is, where you will write a non-conformity. So we will be back in 4 minutes, so I'm hoping to hear from you where you think the non-conformity is. So I will see you in 4 minutes. Hi, welcome back. It looks like the chat function is not properly working, so to make sure that we can have this communication, I want to then what I think we can do is that I will give you the chat, the email, so that you can contact us through Teams, and then tell you your answer. So let me show you the Teams. Okay, just give me a second. I will then do that. Okay, if you can contact Daniel and give you your answer, so that because then we can have. Okay, so that is the message. I can zoom in a little bit. Okay, so that you have a chance to write it down. Okay, so yeah, so contact Daniel Breive on Teams and then send your answer there. So sorry for that. I did not know that the function was not the chat function was not properly functioning. But so contact Daniel Breive on Teams and then send your answer. So then we can have the communication and we can see so you also get to try and see if you can understand what we're trying to say through the Excel template. So I will of course give you 4 more minutes. I understand that you cannot send. You did not get the 4 minutes, so fair should be fair. I will give you the 4 minutes so that you get the chance to reply to us. So contact Daniel Breive at nemco.com and give your answer, and I will see you in 4 minutes time. Okay, welcome back, welcome back. Now we have people from the chat. Daniel, I think there are a couple of replies. Let's hear them. Let's see what our evaluators have said.
Yes, so the first answer we had is from Ben. Our reply would be that the asset 2 in the decision node 1 to decision node 4 is not answered.
Very good, very good.
Additionally, we don't see conditional answer at asset 3.
Very good.
And another input we have is: hi, missing information for decision node 1 to decision node 4 for asset 2. And another guy says that it seems that asset 2 has no response and asset 3 doesn't have a motivation for how yes response was fulfilled. And we have another one saying they forgot to answer the question. They say they have a security asset, but they are not clarifying how it fulfills the requirement / the objective. So the justification is missing.
Okay.
And we have another one who says that asset 2, no, decision node 1 is no, decision node 2 is no, decision node 3 is no, and decision node 4 should be passed. So I'm guessing he is suggesting that should be the correct way of filling out the template.
Okay.
Additionally, there is another one saying that there are no decision node 1 to 4 for asset 2. So I think most people have noted that lack of documentation, and additionally a lack of answer for asset 3 in the decision node column.
Okay.
And the last input we have is that I would, in asset 3, the answer conditional requirement conditional required is omitted, and in asset 2 there is missing evaluation for decision node 1 through 4. So Oscar, what is the general consensus? Are they correct?
Yes, and this is the first thing that we see a lot of. They are normally manufacturers forget to fill out, and why they forget, that is multiple different reasons. There might be that there are multiple people working on these project, and somebody is responsible for asset 2, and suddenly he's not answering, but the person responsible for asset 1 and the person responsible for asset 3 and 4, they're answering. So this normally we see that somebody's forgetting to check that, hey, have everybody Have everybody answered these decision nodes, these information identifiers? So yeah, I just want to say that's very well seen by you guys. So this is one problem that we face all the time. So now I will show you what happens. So let's say this has been given. You as a manufacturer have given this to me. And now you now understand what the problem is. So I will then of course go over here. I will then of course say that this becomes a non-conformity, and of course this becomes a non-conformity because this passes. This one, I think there was. This one does a non-conformity, and this one is a non-conformity, and this one passes. So here I will give them my answers. In this case, they have done a very good job. I can show you how I normally will then. I will normally then go over here, copy this, put it over here, just so you can see how does this normally look like. I will then go over here, copy this up here, and then I go over here. So my goal is just so you can see, okay, how is this normally looks like. And then I will go over here to justification. And then let's go down here. And then the last one is this one. And we use ASM. And I think you guys now understand how this is done. And then of course I will go to the ASM and copy that too. So this is how, if I just make it bigger, I will normally do this. So normally, if I have to approve, I will then copy all the text. You don't need to do this, you just need to fill out everything before that. And I will here in my evaluator tab, fill out, hey, you have answered all the requirements, and then give you a pass. Now, what happens if you don't do that? In this case, you guys saw what the problem was. You saw that, hey, here there's no information, so then I have to then write let's go here, the manufacturer has not answered which DN in decision tree that is applicable for the equipment and asset. And then I will then write therefore non-conformity ACM1A is written. So I will go over here and then bold this out, and I can zoom in here. So just so you guys can see it. So this is how it will look like when you're interacting with me or Daniel or anything. You will see a bold non-conformity ACM is written, and the same thing goes here with the next one, but that over here it is more that the conditional is not answered, has not answered conditional information identifier there, and of course I will then do the bold here. So this is what will then be written, and of course I have to written to the manufacturer, hey, because you guys as evaluators, you know what the problem is. You know that, hey, you have not answered here and you have not answered this decision tree, but the manufacturer that I'm sending this to, he might say, what's the problem here? I don't see the problem. So you have to then give him what is the problem, and of course I go up here. Here is there, and I have to give him questions. I will then say, try to be nice and polite. Please add in asset tree, and then to make it kind of so that he can understand what I'm trying to tell him. Answer this. I think he will then understand, hopefully. And we'll go over here. Let's go over here. Please add an answer for information identifier. Okay, and then I will then not bold that, and then of course I have to do that for the other one as well, because as you guys know there were two. In asset 2, please add decision tree the ends that is needed. Okay, and I'm hoping of course that this will be understandable for the manufacturer, and of course now that I have done that, I will then send this Excel. Now it depends if this is Excel template is on SharePoint or if this has to be sent through mail or how it's being sent, but this has to of course be sent over to the manufacturer. The manufacturer normally then gets this, he will be like, oh okay, I have mistaken, and then he will then, normally this is what happens. This has now been added, then they go over here, they see, they understand the problem immediately, and here they will then adjust right now, and then yes, pass over here, and then on the last one they will say this here is what they've given us as answer, and of course we are using ACM. There it is. We use ACM1. This is describing basically the same as all the other ones. So in this case, I will then do the same thing as I've done here. I will copy all the information and insert it here, and of course all of them then will get a pass, and then of course I will then do it like this, pass, and since all of them are now passed, I will then go up here, and then this has then passed. So that is how it functions. Now you have seen how the whole document review works. Now, as I said, we will go through the other other requirements, but let's go through the testing part for this, because now you know how the documentation part looks like for a requirement. But how does a test look like for this? Let's go through that. Okay, then I will get that. Let's get that so that we can see how that looks like. Okay, let's move this over here. Okay, so just so we are both on the same page, we have now finished ACM1, the document part. Now we're going to see how the testing part looks like. Okay, so this is how a test can look like. We have deviated a little bit from the standard, and the reason is that my goal is just that this becomes an introduction, but the level will still be the same. So it's still somewhat the same difficulty level. So let's go through this. Okay, ACM1, this is the testing part. Check whether there are any security network access on the device that has not been described in the evaluation. Okay. Accept testing methodology, inspect the equipment and identify all security and network assets and compare found assets with documentation. Okay, this is what they have given us. Okay. Okay, so let's see all the files. Okay, so our goal, what is our goal? Our goal to see if there's any more, if they have described all the files that they are using. So are all the files that they're describing, are they here or not? Are there some files that are not been described? If you can find it, then tell us. So I will give you 4 minutes so that you can give your assessment if they have done their job or not, and I will hope to hear from you. So I will see you in 4 minutes. Yeah, okay, welcome back, welcome back. So, I'm very curious. Daniel, what have the audience say? What has our evaluator said?
Well, I can say that most of them did not like the to-do list from Peter there. So we can go through the replies.
Yeah, go ahead.
We would say that the last .txt file is too much and shouldn't be there as per the documentation. So test result would equal a fail. Another one says to-do list on device is not documented in evaluation. Another one is to-do list remember to remove. To-do list is undocumented asset. The list of files contains more than described by the manufacturers and to-do list in the parentheses. So this is a fail. And the last response was that to-do list should not be on the element. So I think there is a general consensus that the to-do list of Peter shouldn't be there. Is that correct?
Very good job, very good job. I think many of you have a future as being evaluator. Maybe you should quit being a manufacturer and come over to us. Very good seen by you guys, and I think you guys understand the point here. Many times when I see the documentation for completeness, I see if they have documented all the different assets, and there's always some asset that they have forgotten, or there's something they have forgotten, or there's something that should not be there, or there's something that should be there but it's not documented. And then I have to of course say, well, if it's not documented, we have to go back to here. Now it's not that strict of relationship between this test document and this Excel, but normally if we do a real assessment, then they will be a very strict. So everything that is here in the Excel template needs to be the same as here. But in this course, it's not that strict. So you guys are correct, and I think you understood the point. Of course, and in this case, I will then write not okay, and then you have to try to be a little bit nice. The to-do list file is not mentioned in documentation. Please clarify this. Something like that I will write, because maybe this file is something else. Maybe this is a key that's supposed to be there, but they have not called it that. There can be many reasons, or maybe it's just not supposed to be there at all. So, but I don't know. I'm just an evaluator, so I cannot tell them if it's supposed to be there or not. I can just say, hey, this is not documented, what is this? So let's see what they have done then. Okay, let me just go over here. I have to drag it from over here. Yeah, I have to drag it all the way over there. So of course I sent them this, and then they have of course responded, because they have, and this is what they responded to us. This file was a to-do list. It has been removed. Okay, so you guys were correct. And Peter does not have the best memory. So, Peter, you should remember to remove things. But I think you got the point. Now, let's go to the next test. If I'm not mistaken, I think there must be 2 here. Yes, a sufficiency test. Okay, then let's look at the sufficiency. Okay. Sufficiency is basically, does the equipment work as documented? So if they have documented to work, like let's say it's only port 80 that's open, then we will check if that is correct or not. So in this case, we're going to check the access control. Okay, let's see. Look at the test. Access to the security and network asset described in the evaluation. Verify that authentication mechanism is implemented for each asset. Use the equipment to verify that all access control mechanisms that are documented exist. Okay, so that is what they're writing. Okay, let's look at it. Okay, let me zoom a little bit out, or I can kind of, this is going to be a little bit difficult because you have to see the whole thing. Yes, I think you can go one more bar, and then we can, yeah. Then you can see the test up there. Okay, this is what the manufacturer has said. There are two assets that the user has access to. One, the password that the user provides when they connect to the equipment through the app. The user must provide the password when connecting to the equipment for the first time. Okay, this is supposed to prove that there are a password that the other assets are not accessible by the user. These assets are stored on the secure element of the device and not inaccessible to anyone else that does not have authorization. The equipment uses these assets to connect to other devices with Bluetooth, SFTP, or to communicate securely with TLS. The secure element is encrypted, password protected. Only our authorized internal administrators have access to this password. The SFP server where the user must have private key and provide it to gain access. Okay, so now let's up the ante a little bit and make it a little bit more difficult for you guys. Maybe this time have the manufacturer done their job. What do you think? I will see you in 4 minutes time and hope to hear from you. Okay, welcome back, evaluators. I need your help. Is this okay, Daniel? What are the evaluators saying?
Yes, so we have gotten a few inputs. It took a little bit more time because maybe it was more difficult to answer than the previous, but some of the inputs are so far seems okay, but top right corner description of the asset was not mentioned in the documentation as per the Excel template. The protection of the secure element of the device has not been documented. And another input was, if I can just get my email, there was some comments regarding the formatting, which we will take into consideration. And secondly,
always room for improvement.
Yeah, if I remember correctly from the first exercise, there should be 4 assets in total and not 3.
Okay, I will answer.
So that's one input, and answer is that it is okay. And then I think that was all.
Okay,
so
I
think the general opinion is that it isn't a total match between the Excel
I will
documentation
explain.
and the test, but overall it looks okay.
First of all, there is no connection between this Word document and the Excel. And the reason I have not chosen to do it like that is that I want you just to focus on the part. Like, for instance, when we do the testing, I just want you to focus on the testing part. When we do the Excel, I want you only to focus on the Excel. It's very correct of you guys that these assets in a real assessment, all of these 4 assets needs to be documented in the testing as well. So yes, that is correct. But since this is a training course, and my goal is just to give you introduction and just slowly take you into this, I have not made so that it's one-to-one between the testing and the Excel template. My goal is just like so you can slowly learn this. But it's very good to see enough of you guys. When it comes to this, it's not always that the manufacturer does give us wrong answers. In this case, this is actually based on what they need to provide. This is actually good enough. This will actually be okay. My goal is to just show you that sometimes the manufacturer does give you, actually most of the time the manufacturer does give us the wrong answer, but sometimes actually they are good, and you will then we will give them okay. So I just wanted to show you that how an okay answer looks like, so that just so you can see that. So my goal is that now that you focus on in other words, keep the Excel template for itself and keep the testing for itself, but in the real assessment, of course, they have to be linked together. So very well seen. Now, we will go back to the Excel template, and I think you guys have now seen how this works. You guys now know, okay, this is how the document part looks like, and this is how the testing part looks like. Now you know how the whole process looks like. Now, let's look at a new requirement, because let's try to see, because now you guys know how this is done, so let's try to keep it moving. Let's look at, let's take RM. I'm just picking something here, just so we have something. Okay, let's look at this. And of course, I will try to hide as much as I can so that we can, there, okay. So, in the last one, as you guys maybe remember, it asks straight up for the asset. But here, in RM, it asks for mechanism. And as I said earlier today, if you remember, there's 2 things the standard focuses on. It's protection of assets and secure mechanism. So here you can see an example of it asking for mechanism. So for the first time you can now see how that works out. So you will see that it's pretty much the same way we're going to solve this. But I just want to, just so you can see it for yourself. That's my goal here. So this time it's, let's zoom out a little bit there. Okay, so if we go on top here, Why has that done? There you go. So if I can go, yeah. So the D column, it says access control mechanism, ID. So here you can give it an ID, ACM1, ACM1. Here, description of access control mechanism. So far, so good. Here, it asks for interface. Okay, it has two interface. Okay, both of them are network interface. Description of interface, connecting to the app from the equipment and to the backend. Port 22 connecting to from server to the equipment. Okay. Here, sometimes it will ask for asset and asset ID. In this case, it does not ask for that. But as you guys know, asking it will most of the time ask for what asset are you trying to protect. But just so you can see it for yourself that, okay, this is how it will look like. And then here you will normally then write if this will be applicable. In this case, it's not. So I can take hidden, 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 and hidden on these two. Okay. Then we go to required information identifier. In this case, we are just doing 18031. So we only need to answer one of them. There are this one. And if I get the here, let's just move this a little bit to the side so you can see it for yourself. Okay, 1801, we're just trying to answer the one. Okay, let's move it over here. Okay, describe each authentication mechanism required. Yes, it is described. Okay, let's see what if it's asking for much more. Go over here, go over here. Okay. Describe each authentication mechanism required per OM1 network interface or user interface. Okay, let's see what they say. Yes, we use these knowledge, possession, and inherit. Okay, okay, a little bit strange. I don't know if they answered the question. Okay, we will continue. Okay, here they have forgotten something. Okay, then we have one non-conformity. Okay, then I take hidden on these. Here they say okay. So once again, is this good enough for justification? Okay, just say okay. And here, if we look at, let's see what they have answered. Okay. So let's go up here and see what that is. This was a little bit strange. Let's go up here. What is this? Okay. Description of the authenticator. Okay, description of authenticator. Okay, are they using key? Are they using what? There is an authenticator. Okay, in order to be used to authenticate. What does that mean? Is that no? What's going? Okay, okay. I am a little bit. I don't know what to say here. I don't know if this is good enough or not. Thankfully, I have you guys who will now help me a little bit because I am a little bit. I feel, okay, this is very difficult. Well, luckily for me, I have you evaluators that I can turn to who can help me. So, my question to you guys is, since you now know the process, is this good enough or not? So, I will give you 4 minutes and we will come back and we will see what you guys say. Okay, welcome back, evaluators. This was a little bit more difficult, but that's the point, that I'm going to slowly increase this. So Daniel, what is the evaluator saying?
Well, we have a couple of replies.
Okay, go ahead.
Starting from the top of my inbox, we can say that the decision node 1 evaluation is omitted. For the decision 1 node X, the answer conditional requirement is incomplete, not specifying the mechanism.
Very good.
The next input we have is that for interface 1, decision node 1 is missing.
Good.
Justification OK is not good enough and needs to be
Very
more
good.
precise.
Very good.
Conditional information doesn't make sense at all.
Very good.
The description of the authentication is missing.
Yeah.
We assume it is a password authentication.
Okay, we will see.
Interface 2 looks good, well enough described.
Yeah.
We have another
Go ahead.
who says that there should be more information about detail.
Yeah.
We have another input which says 05 is left blank and should be filled, and secondly they need to specify which authentication is used to the equipment and not within the app. And lastly we have that decision node 1 is empty for ASM1, more details for justification expected.
Very good.
So, what do you think, Oscar?
I think we have found our future evaluators. This is very good, and I think you're starting to get into the mindset, and you're starting to see it from our perspective, that I'm not trying to be mean here, I'm just trying to look at what, for instance, as you guys pointed out, the second row here, row 6 here, this is good enough, this is sufficient enough, fair enough. But if you look at the top, and here, even though these two are given the same answer, at least here I can see that, okay, there's a key here, I can start making things out here. Let's start here, because, and this is the more, okay, so we will start with this one. Okay, let me look at this information identifier one more time. Let's look at this. Okay, there. Okay. Describe each authentication mechanism. Okay, authentication mechanism. Yeah, but which one? I mean, if let's say he answers this answer, but he gives an answer over here, what authentication mechanism he is using? Okay, fair enough. I will then, let's say he writes over here what authentication mechanism, I will then copy and paste it in here. I will try to be a little bit helpful, but here there is no information. I have nothing to go on. I have to like make a guess here, and it's impossible to guess. So this is not good enough. This needs to be a better answer. Here, nothing is answered, so this is missing clearly, and this is okay. Okay is not a justification. And this is, you need to tell me why. Why is this? Let's say this is a no. Okay, why is this a no? Or if this is a pass, okay, why is this a pass? Why have you done that? Okay doesn't tell me anything. I have nothing to go on. And then comes this one, which is, let's go here. This information identifier, as you guys can see here, describe the authenticator. Well, what is this? Is this a key? Is this a password? Is this, how am I supposed to know? So all four of these needs to be, of course, I need to give a non-conformity, and of course I will then go up here. Here, good, okay, just so you can see, this is here, non-conformity, and then non-conformity here, and of course I will then make this bigger, and I will say missing sufficient answer on required information identifier, and also I can also say required and conditional information identifier, also missing answer on DN1, and not, and the last one was, if I was not mistaken, yeah, justification, not sufficiently justification for the answer. Therefore, non-conformity is written. Okay, and I have to write which non-conformity so that this person can know. There is written. Okay, and of course I will go up here and I will quickly write that down so we can go to the testing part. There, and I have, okay, let's quickly do this. Missing the answer. Normally I should maybe be a little bit more nicer and write, but here I think you get the point, so I'm just not going to take so much time. For required information, please clarify what authenticator is in conditional information identifier. Okay, go back. Same thing with that. Please clarify what authenticator, what authentication mechanism is in required information identifier, and for which one was missing? Yeah, please provide a more in-depth rationale for the answer. Okay. Identifiers. Okay. Quickly write it down. And of course, this will be sent to manufacturer. And of course, manufacturer will then see this and they will give an answer, and I will show you what answer they given. And once you see the answer, okay, let's go over here. Okay, they gave this. This has now been done. Okay, let's see what they have answered. And of course, when you ask them for this, they will give you an answer, and you will see that the answer has improved significantly. For instance, here they gave this. Okay, let me just do that. There. There. Okay, so that you guys can see how our answer looks like. Okay, there. Okay. I will then go over here. Okay, then suddenly the answers are much more better now. Let's go over here. Okay, and here they have said yes. And of course here they have given much better information on what this is instead of. So let's go through them. Okay, let's go through them quickly before we take the break. Okay, for this information identifier, they have written one factor password based of each incoming connection on a user or network interface. Okay, a user types in a password when first using the equipment on the app and is forced to register a password. Okay, now I understand what authentication you have used. Here, they have taken a pass. Okay, now I know what you have decided. Okay, what's the justification? There is no password that needs to be registered. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense that this now has a yes. Okay, now I understand why you have taken a yes here. Okay, tell us about the authenticator. A user enter a password that needs to be 8 characters long, which, okay. So, yeah, that makes sense. All that makes much more sense. So, my point with this was just to show you that when you answer these information identifier, try to describe a little bit, give some description on it. It will help a lot, and it's much more easier for me to understand, because when you write there's an authenticator in order to be used to authenticate, I have to almost make a guess, and of course it's impossible to guess what this can mean, so I will then of course write the non-conformity. We will go through the testing part for this after the break, so there will be a 15-minute break if I'm not mistaken, yes. So I will see you in 15 minutes.